Can you hear me good? I guess yes. First of all, I would like to thank Vladi Dramelev for organizing the whole conference, and he's one of the pioneers in Bulgaria for the crypto industry. And a little round of applause for Vladi for organizing. In general, what are the main risks for the Ethereum and the whole Ethereum ecosystem in the upcoming years? From the point of view of competitors, the technological problems, issues, some will call a little bit of lack of interest, but what's your opinion?
I do think that one of the main risks is that users or the retail, as we say in crypto, would not be that active, which will be a bit of stagnation for the sector, because ultimately the interest of retail is what drives all of the consumer apps and all of the innovations that are being introduced. I think that this interest, of course, is something that depends highly on the economy, and believe that Ethereum will continue to be playing the main role in the infrastructure. But definitely one of the big risks is that retail wouldn't be that active in the next years.
The same question also for Valentin, as you have starting 2020, you have deep dived the whole Ethereum ecosystem, also with DeFi and other Ethereum implementations. What's your opinion about the main risks, maybe from a competitor side or maybe technological point of view? As a developer as well, you know a lot.
So we need to keep in mind that Ethereum is actively developed. So it's not like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is very stable. Like the protocol is not changing. It's kind of clear. So it's not being developed that actively as Ethereum. So what happens is that a year ago, the fees on Ethereum were very high, right? So there was a lot of demand for people to buy Ethereum, to pay for gas and everything. But on the other hand, you can't have retail people. You can't pay $20 for a swap on Uniswap. So everybody, like the narrative back then was that, oh, Ethereum, it's broken, it's gonna die because it's just too expensive. Now, there were some technological changes that made Ethereum not very expensive. So right now it's cheap, like the gas fees that are pretty much at all-time low, but we have all these L2s. And the L2s, they make the liquidity to be fragmented. So now the narrative is that, well, Ethereum is not usable because all these L2s, retail is very confused, they don't know how to use it, it's very complicated and all that. So the narrative is kind of changing, but we need to keep in mind that the developers behind Ethereum, they're working on solving all these problems. So right now, as I said, the problems are in the liquidity fragmentation, and also all these chains that are kind of confusing for people to use. So I believe the risk will be that I see is not solving these problems in some way. But personally, I'm kind of optimistic that I see a lot of interesting solutions about solving these problems. So personally, I don't feel like Ethereum is going to lose against the competitors. And the main competitors are, I guess, will be monolithic blockchains. So if we need to kind of form like two teams, one will be modular, which is the Ethereum approach, one will be monolithic. Right now, there is a lot of hype around monolithic blockchains that will be like Solana, high-performance CVMs like Monad, Mega ETH, and some others. So I guess one of the risks will be, well, maybe Ethereum won't be able to solve the problems this time, right? In which case, that could be bad. And in that sense, not being able to onboard a lot of consumer apps. But personally, I see a lot of development there. I see a lot of brain power working on these problems. And I feel confident that in the next 1-2 years, we're going to see these issues resolved.
And you, Chris?
Yeah, I want to start with one observation. So first of all, I'm very impressed that so many people came at the graveyard shift we're having here, because I was not super happy that that the conference is also on Saturday. So I'm really very impressed. Our company has a team of 4 people in Sofia, so we know the people here, and we're very happy. Our company is running a venture capital fund. So I would like to ask in the room, how many of you are investors and how many are looking for money? So a lot of investors. So I think that the biggest issue what we're facing right now, and the bear market is killing a lot of good projects, because one of the biggest issues is money right now. Very little money is deployed. Retail is kind of wrecked at the moment, but obviously is still sticking around, which I think is a great sign. And what I think everyone was hoping for, that due to the Bitcoin ETF, that whenever this stopped, that the altcoin season will begin again. And the question is, how long can you stay liquid? And I think that's the key thing. Is what we are seeing is definitely you need adoption. It's like you can have the best technology, you can have the fastest transaction, the securest blockchain. If you don't have the adoption, I think that will cause a problem. And the longer it takes, the more difficult it is.
Yeah, of course. And now another round of questions. Which Ethereum competitor do you see as the main competitor, basically, and why do you see them as a competitor?
Well, let's judge by what the market thinks. And the market thinks that one of the biggest competitors of Ethereum so far is Solana. Of course, there are some other competitors that are tinier in developers and in interest and in projects that are gaining a lot of speed. As Valentin mentioned, some of the reasons why those blockchains or projects are gaining so much interest. But the thing is that, yeah, I mean, at the moment, it's the market is getting fragmented outside of Ethereum, and Ethereum has to solve a lot of issues with the high fees and with the complexity, as Valentin pointed out. I think that some of the other blockchains offered solutions to those problems. Of course, is a trade-off to other stuff that the Ethereum players and projects don't like. For example, centralization and all of the other stuff that is different. But yeah, I mean, I see that in the future there will be many more chains. I don't exclude the possibility that there'll be many forks, even of Ethereum, that will be used for particular use cases where we need innovation, but yeah, the community goes in one direction, and there are certain sub-communities that want to go in other directions. We saw this in Bitcoin. We saw this. And I think it's a natural organic process to have multiple lives, multiple players as the market matures, because this is how innovation actually happens. I mean, you have more freedom, more flexibility to go after what you think is a problem that is being not addressed at the moment from the market or by other players.
And just to stay on this point a little bit, to ask you, because you mentioned Solana, what's your opinion about the lack of decentralization in the project? And as we see in the last years, the point of decentralization from an investing point of view becomes less and less attractive, and like most people would like to speculate more than be more decentralized, so to say. But what's your opinion on that?
I think Solana attracts users that don't care about centralization. So there are other chains that attract users that care a lot about centralization. But yeah, that's why I think that every chain will find its core users, and depending on how active and the direction they want to take, this will determine the future of the chain itself.
And Valentin, do you also share Miroslav's opinion about multi-chain world in the upcoming years, and which main competitors are you watching?
So Solana is clearly, one of the biggest competitors, that's for sure. But when we look at what is happening on Solana, it's basically like meme coin trading, which is basically, for me, that's a glorified casino of some sort. And I don't say that it's bad or something like this, because the market decides. And the market decided that this is something that the market wants. People want to do that, which is fine. I mean, it's fine. But the thing is, I believe that to be successful, you need to be much more than that. And when we talk about, let's say, serious use cases, let's say where, for example, BlackRock is going to tokenize one of their funds, then they're going to decide that to be on Ethereum because the economic security is the biggest there, which makes sense. Now, whether it's going to be one chain that wins them all or not, I actually think there will be a lot of chains. And we're actually seeing this kind of unfolding. We see Ethereum being the ultimate settlement layer, and then we see other players having some niche use cases. Solana might be, the meme coin chain, whatever. Avalanche might be the chain for gaming. And we're actually seeing some interesting traction happening right now. Like last week, there was this game Off the Grid that launched that has a very, very big success, and it's based on a Solana subnet. We have Base, which is an L2 that Coinbase stands behind, that is a liquidity source. And this also has quite a bit of traction happening there. So if we look at the whole ecosystem, I think we need to identify which are the narratives that are going to pick up, which will be the best chain that these narratives are going to step on, and take it from there. So yeah, I mean, from that perspective, there are multiple competitors of Ethereum, but I believe that for certain use cases, Ethereum is basically providing the best infrastructure. And some of these use cases will be basically DeFi and ultimately like tokenizing assets and putting money there and all that. So that's my opinion.
And you, Chris?
Well, I'm a bit biased, yeah, because Gavin Wood is an advisor and investor in our fund. So, of course, we see PolkaDot as one of the main competitors there, and it's having its issues. I think Solana has the best business development, the best marketing, is hyped because of all the meme coin frenzy, which me being a banker for many years is very fascinating for me that this can happen. And one of the memes on PolkaDot is the nerds love it. Yeah. So basically, you can build very fast, very secure. Just to give you an example, one of our investments is a company called Mythical Games, which built a game called NFL Rivals, where you play like a FIFA manager on the NFL. And they migrated from their private chain to PolkaDot. And I think they had more than 1 million transactions, nothing happened, so the tech works. But of course, the tech on its own is never going to be enough. Yeah, you need to build something around it. And a centralized solution like Solana is much faster in moving money to marketing, money to business development. PolkaDot is completely decentralized. If you want to have fun, buy a few DOT, go on Open Government and look at all the proposals where you can get money for events, for example. money for business development, everything. It's really, in my opinion, the most fascinating experiment out there, where we see how we as individuals will be able to socially work and interact with each other. So I think that's, but I fully agree it's going to be a multi-chain world. Although many centralized institutions like BlackRock, Blackstone, and all the big ones will try to avoid that, but I think it's unavoidable that we will see public blockchains, because with the private blockchain is nothing but a database which you run. So there's no point.
To switch now the questioning, to start with you, Chris. What are your favorite?
But I prefer if the others talk first, and it's easier for me.
You just agree, right?
Then let's honor this ask. Let's honor this ask, and then again start with Miroslav. What are your favorite scaling solutions for a layer 2 scaling solutions of Ethereum?
Well, I think that Arbitrum is basically one of the best, and it's been one of the most used also. But yeah, I mean, if I want to talk about layer 2, I also want to stress out that layer 2 at the moment is a bit frustrating for a lot of the newcomers.
Probably the UX UI.
Yes. And of course, the more issues we try to solve in a more complex way, this will actually be waiting on the UX of newcomers and the retail. So that's what I'm afraid, that at some point things on Ethereum will become so complex from a user point of view that there would be the need for someone to come and just say, okay, we need to do a fork and do some form of a UX rewrite so that this thing can be used in a very, very easy way for a lot of people. For people that have not yet been crypto natives, that don't know how wallets or blockchains or whatever work, because most people, they don't care about this. Of course, in the future, this might change, but a lot of people don't care about the technology. They care only about the incentives that come with the technology. But yeah, I definitely think that layer 2s at the moment are impediments to faster adoption from retail, and that's why I think that a lot of people will start on other chains. And yes, when it comes to DeFi, Ethereum will be the #1 choice for sure. But yeah, the UX needs to change.
To merge the things that Miroslav said with the question to you, Valentin, as you like testing a lot of different projects and chains, which layer 2 do you think, or a scaling solution, do you think has the best UX UI? Because I totally agree with Miroslav, this is a huge issue in the whole ecosystem. And also, which scaling solutions do you see as the main drivers of the Ethereum's adoption?
A while ago, I was kind of opinionated about what kind of technology will be, the best for layer 2s. And I personally believe in layer 2s for a very simple reason. It makes a lot of sense because layer 2s, they allow you to move the computations outside of the main network. So when you do that, you gain a lot of performance. So you're kind of solving this bottleneck. And I was very opinionated. I was thinking like, oh, like ZK, Rollups, they look so much better than Optimistic and all that. But recently, I actually changed my mind, and I believe that actually Optimistic are just fine. This long withdrawal period, there are ways to solve that is nice enough, so it actually doesn't it doesn't matter whether you have like slow withdrawals or not or whatever. So market managed to fix all the problems that I was kind of worried about. And right now, if you ask me, I think actually it doesn't really matter so much. I would say that Optimistic probably have a little bit of an edge over ZK because they provide a little bit cheaper transactions up front. While ZK, it's a little bit different. So what I think is that right now, it actually comes down to development experience. And that's going to be like, we have services like Conduit that basically allows you to run a rollup with like 2 clicks. You go on a UI, it's the same like running a DigitalOcean virtual machine. You say like, this is the rollup I want to have with these properties. You click deploy, you pay a monthly fee, and you have a rollup, and that's it. So I feel like the things are shifting a little bit. Like the technology is not like the core of the technology is not so important anymore. Things are pretty much the same. And now we have a bunch of upcoming new things, basically for EVM chains, that should improve the user onboarding. And this is something that I'm waiting, to happen very soon, like maybe in a year, and I already see demos of that, how people can onboard in Web3 applications without a seed phrase, with biometrics, using like passkeys, the same user onboarding that is happening on, let's say, Revolut or any of these like Web 2.5 banking solutions happening for blockchain. And I think that will be the most important thing, like the consumer apps that will utilize this technology and gonna make it so that people actually can use this thing, not degens that are used to managing like hardware wallets and seed phrases and all that kind of crap.
Yeah, I think I fully agree. It's like, so first of all, no one knows what's happening in the next 12 to 18 months. Yeah, in crypto, everything changes at such a high pace that whenever people ask me, well, what do you think is going to happen next year? I said, well, I can tell you what probably is going to happen in the next week, but not in the next 12 months, because there's so many factors which are important. I think what you said is the developers need to want to build there, because if you don't have developers, you don't have projects, then the chain, then it's dead. Yeah. And the second is the UX for the user. If this needs to change dramatically. If you want to bring, it's like the phrase. I saw a lot of people with a GM T-shirt going around. And one of our projects, A-Star, I don't know if you heard of it, he says GM should not stand for good morning, but for go mainstream. So I think that's the key, is like we need to break out, and doing events like that, I think is a great thing, is to educate and to bring more people into the space. And then the more people, then the easier will be the development there.
Why actually do you think, maybe you can give your opinion starting out, Miroslav, why do you think that, because a lot of retail investors are asking themselves this question, why do you think still so many years into the crypto ecosystem, let's say starting 2016 with Ethereum, there to this day such UX, UI issues, scaling issues? Why is it technologically so hard to fix all those problems? Because each cycle, people say this cycle or next cycle, and again, it's this cycle, next cycle, and people are still waiting for these things to happen.
Because these are hard problems. I mean, decentralization and having a very scalable solution in a decentralized way is very hard, and we see this with many projects. I mean, that promised decentralization but actually failed to deliver it, and yeah, it's plenty of stuff. It's a complex thing. Especially when you have so many projects and so many apps that want to cover different aspects of DeFi, of gaming. They need different stuff, and it's hard pleasing all of them at once. And of course, you need a focus, and you need a lot of money and a lot of good people, a lot of talent to work on some of the primary problems, some of the hardest problems that are there. And I think that it takes a lot of time. Of course, there is a lot of talent out there that is being sucked by the AI hype, because now it is where the money is flowing, and it is something that people and retail actually see the value of it big time, even companies, etc., etc. So I think this stole some of the shining of crypto in the last few years, and it stole some of the capital too, definitely. So I think that we need to find a good way to stimulate some of the brightest minds to work on the crypto problems at the moment. Although I see many bright people working, I don't see that they want to work in crypto as their first choice. I mean, because the incentives are not that attractive as in other companies, as for example in DeepMind or in some other hot AI startups.
Yeah. And Valentin, do you think that we should sacrifice a little bit of the decentralization in order to fix the other issues, or do you think that we need to be straightforward on the path to decentralization?
I think we should provide the options. So some use cases require a lot of decentralization. Other use cases are completely fine to be, relatively centralized or completely centralized. So it really comes down to what you want to achieve and what you're building, and that's why it's important to have a set of different solutions out there, and you as a founder and as a project to be able to choose and know what are the trade-offs. Because with all of these systems, you have certain trade-offs. You can't have all of it. You need to do trade-offs, and these trade-offs are going to impact how your product looks. So yeah, I wouldn't say that we should sacrifice decentralization. We should be able to have the decentralized way. We should have like the middle one and like the more centralized, and these all options should be out there on the table.
And Chris, a question to you is that you said your favorite, actually, because of Gavin Wood, PolkaDot as your favorite decentralized project. But if you have to pick one more centralized project that you like, which one would it be?
It's we as a company would not go down that road, because in our opinion it goes against the idea of a blockchain. So we avoided that, and so we think, why is it decentralized? Because you want to go against centralized institutions, yeah, because that's what you want to break, basically. But I want to add to, well, one of the points is like, why are those problems so hard to solve? Well, first of all, most of the protocols are down, I don't know, 80% from their all-time high, which basically means they have 80% less money to spend to help projects to develop. Yeah, if I go back to the PolkaDot example, there's currently 100 million in Treasury, which can be spent in whatever way, and PolkaDot is trading at 6 billion at the moment. If PolkaDot is at 60 billion, then theoretically the Treasury would be around 1 billion and 1.5 billion, and that's just one project. Yeah, if you look at that, what could be possible? But you would need the money to invest there, because it's like something has to catch up. Either the fees generated, or what you can spend there. But it's and there in our opinion, we are at the 2000, maybe 2001 point now, where basically a lot of it will be washed out. If you don't have a use case, I mean, the meme coins are still fascinating for me. It's not a use case, but it's happening, yeah? So it is a use case in that sense, but your reason to exist will stop, yeah? And we will see that of the 20,000 cryptos we're having right now, probably 5% will survive in the next 5 years. We should be very realistic about that, because what we're seeing right now is not sustainable.
Yeah.
So go with the ones where you believe and where you see a chance that projects will be built and users can be gained.
Yeah, I agree with you that the risk is the main thing that we need to we need to be looking at. And mentioning risks, one of the main risks for the whole DeFi ecosystem, in my opinion, is the AML and KYC procedures, the upcoming ones from the EU, the US, and so on. How, Miroslav, do you think that DeFi will manage to survive or thrive in the upcoming years from that point of view?
I do think that Ethereum will be the main player in the DeFi space. And what Valentin pointed out with BlackRock's fund Beetle that was launched earlier this year actually proved that those institutions are looking to use Ethereum for its network effects. But KYC and AML procedures are the cornerstone of a capitalistic, so to speak, environment, and they are very important for any industry that is managing money. Yeah, I do think that they impose risk on DeFi that some of the users that value so much centralization, privacy, anonymity, and stuff will have to oblige with something that comes in as a trade-off for the growth of their capital. For example, if BlackRock says, okay, we need these procedures in order to build more and to intertwine the traditional finance world with the DeFi world, but we need those checks because we have to comply with the law. We want to onboard US investors, and they have to go through these crazy administrative checks and so on. At some point, there will be a crossroad, in my opinion. The market has to decide whether to follow the big money, and big money always follows law in the real world, because prison is a real thing. Yeah, I do think that this imposes a big risk, and I do think that there are some middle grounds, but definitely if DeFi is to become a very big industry, I think that we'll have to oblige with all of the regulation that is being imposed by the governments.
And Valentin, the same question to you, but with a little bit of caveat and an add-on to it. Do you see a world where we have decentralization but no anonymity due to the KYC and AML procedures?
Yeah, privacy is a very tough topic. It's probably actually I'll be more concerned around the privacy issues compared to regulation, AML, KYC, because DeFi, it's infrastructure. TradFi will be using DeFi because it's going to reduce their operational cost. It's all about money. So if they can make more money using DeFi, and I think they understand that they can run their business with less people if they use DeFi, right? With less intermediaries, so it's going to be more money for them. So they're going to figure out how to use it. And then for regulation and AML, I mean, you put this at the border of the system where the money are entering or exiting, and you're fine. I mean, the regulators are kind of figuring this out, and they know that they can't regulate Uniswap, but they can regulate on and off ramps. So that's fine. But privacy, that's a tough one, because we see what happened with Tornado Cash. So basically, if you want to have the ultimate privacy, there is a high chance as a developer you're going to go to prison, and that's not an option. So nobody's going to develop such kind of solutions, or these solutions will be developed anonymously still, but still you're going to bear huge risk. So maybe the solution is somewhere in the middle. Like I was thinking, a lot about this. Maybe there is some kind of a solution that allows you to have privacy, but be able to provide a kind of a paper trail about your activity in front of institutions. Let's say you want to open a Binance account and you participate in some kind of a private network where not all the transactions are visible. So in that case, you go to Binance and you generate this report where you can show them and verify that these money are not coming from terrorism, but are coming from my seller or something. But you show that only in front of Binance, or you generate some kind of a ZK proof that that's the case. And maybe that's going to be enough, some kind of a solution like that. But ultimate privacy, that will be very tough to get going with regulators. Like I think they're going to fight very hard against that. And personally, I think it will be great if we can have like a perfectly private solutions, but not sure that's going to happen, unfortunately.
The same to you, Chris. Again, with an add-on, is this the main risk for DeFi, the KYC AML, or do you think if you think you can add something to the risks?
Absolutely. So I think it has to be regulatory compliant. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And I think one of the biggest, I would call it maybe a revolutions, which will be an on-chain digital identity. Like one of our projects called Killed, Ingo Rübe spoke yesterday about it, is like, with that, you could solve a lot of issues, yeah? Where you can say, okay, it's cleared once, you can look it up, and then you can say, okay, this is the guy, this is where the money is coming from. But right now, I mean, as I come back to the same thing, if you look at KYC and AML processes in banks, this is a nightmare, yeah? So this is not going to work in that environment. So we need to clear those steps first, but it has to be absolutely regulatory compliant to work in the future.
Yeah, and the last round of questioning, as we have 3-4 minutes left, this question will be more general about the whole crypto ecosystem. There is this thesis of diminishing returns. Some may say it's not a thesis, it's actually happening. What's your opinion, Miroslav, about the thesis of diminishing returns in each following cycle, and do you expect less of a percentage increase in the upcoming one?
I definitely agree with this, because crypto was the hottest thing 4 years ago. Now it's AI, and in the future there'll be more stuff that we cannot think of right now that is hot. If I had to guess, maybe it would be something like biotech and AI, something in the real world where people can touch, where it blends with other stuff. And what is hot in the day actually steals people's attention and money. So this happens. So also the market has a lot of assets at the moment, and a lot of people are trapped into holding them and working for some projects, because they have this sunk-in cost. I believe that the biggest increases will be seen from new projects which have no price history, no backholders left, no VCs that want to dump on them, and I do believe in this thesis.
And you, Valentin?
For sure. So what's happening is that a few years ago, there was much less VCs, much less money chasing, the best projects. And I mean, I guess probably everyone here agrees that, if Bitcoin has been like 1,000x for the, I don't know, the last 5, 7, 8 years, whatever, it's not going to be 1,000x, in the next, it's going to kind of plateau with the acceleration of the price. But what is more interesting for me is like from an investment perspective. Like if we look at, investing in early projects, which is what we do at Daedalus, I believe that, and I kind of see, I haven't done like some formal math or published a paper or anything, but I can easily see that people that were investing a few years ago, they were able to have a much bigger winners compared to people now. And there is a very obvious explanation why is that. Right now, we have much more funds that are competing against each other, much more money, like it's basically more money competing, and you have a lot of people trying to basically preempt the new narratives. So it's not like a new narrative is gonna start happening or something, and then the VC figures it out. Like it's like even before, like the narrative will be like very, very early stage, and investors will be trying to preempt that, which is pushing the valuations up. It's making investing in generally in Web3 like quite expensive, I would say. So as the time goes, I think the expected returns that investors should be looking at, especially for early stage companies, will be much lower compared to let's say 5 years ago.
And Chris, the same to you. Again, with an add-on, do you think that the diminishing returns are mostly due to this thing called the law of large numbers? As the crypto market cap becomes larger and larger, the percentage increases will become less and less? Or it's more due to what Miroslav said, different teams as AI, biotech, and so on?
First of all, I want to start with predictions are very hard, especially about the future. So
sorry to interrupt, but Howard Marks has this incredible quote. There are two types of people: those that don't know, and those that do not know they don't know what the future will happen. So yeah.
So I think it's. I'm going to make a very bold prediction. I think we're going to see the last cycle now, because crypto, in my, funny enough, is I think the only asset class which started from retail and is yet to get institutional adoption. And I think if we get institutional adoption, you will see a wave of money coming in, which basically happened with Bitcoin to a certain extent. Yeah. So we haven't seen any institutional inflow in the asset class at the bigger scale. So I think if you have that, you will see the good projects, but that's the caveat, you will have exponential returns. Again, this will happen because as you said, so much money will be chasing the good projects that valuations will go crazy in that cycle. Yeah? Afterwards, if you have institutional adoption, you will see that the volatility will go out. A lot of coming back again, a lot of the stupid projects will be washed out and won't exist. You will have much more liquidity, because the biggest issue right now is liquidity. If you are at our size, for example, it's very hard. So we have to make a lot of due diligence before we invest, because we need to make sure that it gets to a certain size that we can exit. It's much easier if you have a few 100K to invest than to say you have a few million to invest, and then you need to exit as well. So liquidity needs to come to the market, and then the good projects will strive, and you will get exceptional returns. AI is a hype, of course, yeah. But how many, apart from high valuation, how many exits have we seen in this cycle? So it needs to be proven. And I think crypto and blockchain is, in my opinion, a belief in a different way corporations, nations will be organized and functioning. And AI is a tool, yeah. But blockchain and crypto itself is a belief in a different system, yeah.
Thank you for providing this value and your expertise. And again, to all of you, this was this conference.